we must bring Jared to us. I believe he is
Do
here.
it.
He
Is
is
he
here.
here?
Is that correct, Jack? He is here. I believe that he is here. Yes,
Boom.
he is. We
go.
must bring the man himself inside of the show. He's a serial entrepreneur, 2-time Emmy nominee. He's won Cannes. He's won Con. I believe you say Con. But I like to say Cans just because
He'll tell you how to say it.
He'll tell us how to say it. He has won Con Lions winner 3 different times. Okay, JinglePunks all the way back in 2008 to Audio Up, and now Rebel Audio. We must bring the man himself inside of here. Everybody, welcome to the show, Jared Gutstadt. Get in here.
How do I get in? Oh, I'm here.
There we go. Very
Dude, look at
fitting.
this.
With the
Look
cowboy
Wow.
hat in tow, Jared.
Wow.
We appreciate you making the time.
This is not cosplay. This is real, and I like the look. I like the fit on both of you guys with the hat.
I love it.
Nice touch.
You know, we got to do it, Jared. Man, welcome to the show. We appreciate you making the time, brother.
Thank you guys for having me. You guys run a really cool operation, I got to say.
You know, we do our best. We do our best, especially for accomplished creators and entrepreneurs like yourself, Jared. Now, brother, you have got, before we talk, I want to talk all about Rebel. I want to talk about what you guys are doing there and the unique people that you have partnered up with to bring this thing to market, and how you guys are changing podcasting and such. Before we get there, brother, you have got to give us some lore on how you became Jingle Jared. I mean, what you guys have, what you've done like since the 2000s with JinglePunks, who you've worked for. Just give us some backstory, brother. I want the people to know.
I'll try and give you the quickest version. So everybody has their 20s when they're just figuring out what they want to do. I moved to New York to be part of Web 1.0. And during that time, the bubble was bursting. I've seen multiple bubbles in my time. There was a company called Heavy.com. You'd be pretty old if you knew what that was, but it was video on the internet before video was even useful on the internet. It was like pre-YouTube, pre-Vice. The day I got there, I found out what a bubble was. They laid off about 150 people, and they said, hey kid, if you got a video camera and you want to talk to people in the street and you know how to edit and you want to make music, you got a job and we're not going to pay you. So I basically learned how to do everything at Heavy.com. Those people were pretty incredible because they would stay with me from like 2000 all the way till now, like in different aspects. Like some of these people would go on to run networks like History Channel. Some people would go on to run big like design firms, ad agencies. But the people that I met during that period, they just kind of like dropped the leash and let crazy Jingle Jared go. Every time I got a job, you know, whether or not it was true or not, they said, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? I'd just be like, sure, yes. And I learned how to learn. And I think that one thing that if I could sort of like tell the younger generation right now, because I'm old. I don't know if I can swear, but I got like gray in my beard.
You can.
Well, I'm fucking old. Like I'm fucking old. But you got to be resilient and you got to be adaptive. So my first big break I was a Final Cut editor at this digital company, and the lore of Jingle Jared starts here. Someone said to me when I was interning at Viacom, what's your dream job? I said Chappelle show. Got hired. Again, the bad luck penny strikes again. What happens the day I get the job? Dave Chappelle quits and goes to Africa. Seriously? So I get locked in a room with a very, very angry Neil Brennan, who's the best, by the way, and they're all friends again.
Neil Brennan?
But Neil Brennan every day is like, look, idiot, to me. He's like, don't touch anything in here. Don't fix the edits. Dave's going to be back in a week or 2 weeks. We don't even know when, but he'll be back. Don't touch the episodes. I'm paying you. And it was like golden handcuffs, you know, back in the day when you were a TV editor, you make like, I would do the math, $60 an hour, 10 hours a day. Don't do anything. Try not to get bored. That's $600 a day. Woo, I'm rich.
Yeah.
I can go to the bar on the Lower East Side,
right?
And like play in my band and try and make it. So I was sneaking in and out. And, you know, every time like my band had a gig, he would know because I was Captain Obvious. I'd show up with a large bass case. And he's like, I know you're going to dip out today. He goes, if I see you leave, if I see you touch anything, you're fired. Anyways, I start sneaking my music in the show. His insult turns into my nickname. He calls me a jingle punk, and he's like, stop being a jingle punk for real. He goes, I will fire you. But he was great because in work sometimes, and by the way, this is back in the day when like you could work at a place and people could yell at you and like you wouldn't I had chairs thrown at my head. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But he basically was like, I will fire you if you keep putting this music in the show. But he was like the parent that like yelled but never hit. So I knew that I could continue to push my luck with him. So next thing I knew, snuck the music in the show, replaced all the music from the Roots and some other people that had put music in Chappelle's because nobody was paying attention. This is the genesis.
Wow.
I start to get a year later,
That's
job's
awesome.
over. I survive it. It's like Hunger Games. He fires like 13 other editors. I'm like the lowest person on the totem pole, but just by sheer stupidity or survival or adaptability, I make it all. Because sometimes when people yell at you at work, like back in the day when you could, if you push back, that would be bad. I was like, oh, I'm Canadian, I'm passive aggressive, like whatever, like you're yelling at me, I'm fine, like just don't hurt me, sir.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I a year later get a check for the music I put in Chappelle's show, and I go ding ding ding. I don't want to play in bands anymore. I want to get paid $5,000 for work I did last year. I want to figure out how to scale it on a mass level. The reason I'm telling you this is because I just read a book at that point, my favorite book by Nassim Taleb. I forget his last name, The Black Swan, and he was like, "Your life is only as scalable as the ability to like work on something and have it do the work for you." So previously, $60 an hour, 10 hours a day, I thought I was rich. That's golden handcuffs. And he was like, "Look, doctors, lawyers, those are hourly." He goes, "You need to think of a business that's highly scalable." So I go, "Well, what if I take all the music of all these people who are disgruntled composers and put it into a platform?" That applies to where I go later in life. But JinglePunks was, I saw, because I came from a technology background. I'd done my master's at NYU while I was working at heavy.com.
Wow.
And the cloud was just emerging. And I was like, what if instead of CDs and hard drives, we do the cloud?
Yeah.
So that was my innovation. Like A, I wore a hat, and B, I was like a little wacky. We were hyper marketers in a category that no one cared about called production music. We would do wacky advertising. Like I couldn't afford the advertising at the fancy television conferences like real screens. And this is one of my lore stories. They were like, we have the golden package, the platinum package. Oh, I was like, well, what else you got? They're like, we got the brown package. It's in the toilet. So I advertised in urinals and put my face in a funnel cake. And I said, ask me about my jingles. And my mouth was open, like asking people, the head of Disney and like Universal went up to me like, dude, are you Jingle Jared? I was like, yeah, because I'm wearing a cat. And he goes, I just pissed in your mouth. He's like, I gotta check your company out. So like that kind of stuff. Yeah, crazy stuff. Like going to South by, like having all these like weird fortuitous events. Amazon pulled out of a pedicab advertising campaign, and I went to Kinko's with the owner of the pedicab company and made our logos and put it over the Amazon abandoned inventory, and everyone thought we were like as wealthy as like Amazon or Netflix, who are all advertising it. So it was like series of events, everything, and it's basically like I'm only telling these stories now because we're going to get to Rebel in a second.
Yeah.
I almost so then I built it. The fun part was, it was like, we settled the West. I came out to LA. We got bought by William Morris Endeavor. I could bore you all day with stories about how that even happened. And then Silver Lake, and then I sold it again. I was drunk at a cocktail party, and somebody from Ontario Teachers Pension Fund was like, how do you like working with WME? And I was like, it's fine. It's great. But they're like, would you sell the business? I was like, well, I don't own it anymore. They're like, and I just was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to sell the business a second time. And less than 12 months after we sold to WME, we had a double exit, which again cemented
seriously.
And they weren't thrilled about that because we weren't huge, but we were like we became what people dream of. It was like a cash flow business. Like if I'd never done anything else, I could have stayed there probably until like that was I started in 2008, sold in 2013 the first time, second time in 15. I could have ridden it out, but I did see the writing on the wall that the business was changing and that cable television and the royalty rich things were moving to streaming. So we sold it at the right time.
Wow.
But I will say, what I learned along the way is like at the end of it, I truly had no context of like how I got there, how to build a business, and as I'm starting my business again, I sound like the crazy old man at a bar because like back in 2008, I did this trick and it worked. But I'm like surprising myself because I'm doing this. Like, I don't even love doing media stuff and like getting involved, but it's like I'm finding the old reflexes are back. Like my guy who runs social, Lucas, was like, check these guys out. He's like, I'll reach out to them. I was like, screw it, I'll reach out to them.
Let's
like,
go, baby.
Because that's the way I used to do things. It was like in a business, you can either rely on people and proxy around you to get stuff done, or you can like roll up your sleeves and get it done. And I just reread a book for entrepreneurs that I think everybody should read if they're in media. John Malone, the cable cowboy, the way he wired America by hand with like gun in hand, like literally laying down the cable wires that then become first like towers, like television towers, like UHF. Then it becomes cable. Then it becomes satellite with Ted Turner. He invents CNN, Fox News, F1, Discovery Channel, and it brings you all the way from the world of like at some point people do things and they make things and then it becomes something else. And seeing the world that he literally put in the ground that then becomes where we're at with AI now. And it's unbelievable because all of it is like, you can see the through line of all of these companies. And it got me refired up, about running businesses are hard. You got to do work. And like, that's the thing that like nobody tells you about. Like I joke, but like, I love it, but I hate it because it's like a lot more work than I've done in the last like decade. Like I could have been in a hammock running JinglePunks for the last few years, but I enjoy it. I like it's like in the movie Heat, the action is the juice. So that's where we are now. I'm back trying to rob a few more banks.
Yeah, you are, man. Yeah, you are. That is incredible, Jared. And I know, like all along the way, brother, you worked with like the biggest people, like in music.
That was the byproduct. That was the
that's crazy.
It's wild. Didn't you discover Jelly Roll, Jared? I mean, I feel like there's a story with you and Jelly Roll too.
That's insane.
I'll give you the Jelly Roll one quick.
That's insane.
So when WME bought our business, they had these like Monday meetings, and I'll send you the clip after in case you want to share it. But you know, like they typically acquire businesses and then people just like kind of fuck off and they don't really care or want to integrate. So like an idiot, I showed up to the Monday morning meetings. It's like that scene out of Get Him to the Greek where like, we have this new artist. So there was like,
that's a great scene.
They're talking about like all these things and like, we got a guy who was on a Jimmy Fallon monologue. He's being sued by Waffle House for doing Weed Whiskey Waffle House mixtape. And this guy's a 400-pound white rapper. They're like, Jared, why don't you go down to Nashville and take a look at it? They knew I was interested in things like Kid Rock and country. And a lot of what I did at JinglePunks was like, you know, the music for Pawn Stars and American Pickers. So there was like this Americana country thing way before country was even cool. And so I went there. He was rapping, and you know, the long story short, because it was like 9 years of building with him, was, look, everyone's got their own version of how it gets the last mile. And to be totally frank, the last mile is all him. That is like something I never could have predicted in my life. But interesting cat. It's all for a whole other. It seemed
crazy, man.
Almost likely to impossible that somebody with the background that he had, it's well known, which again, it's quite gnarly. It seems impossible that brands would wrap around it one day, that America would wrap around it one day, and he would become this massive, not only an artist but kind of like an icon. You know, I just remember those days, like, you know, like on Super Bowl Sunday where he's like, one day I'll be there at the Super Bowl. And we just went to my office in Santa Monica and we're just writing songs, which, you know, and it was depressing because you see the whole world around you having fun, but that's development. And that's stuff that many people don't want to do. Many people want the finished product and they want to basically be part of the party, but doing the actual build of things, and there's parallels to everything, because building an artist is like building a business. And my AI epiphany this year was like, damn, if I have to learn something new, this is going to be really hard and I don't want to do it. But I was seeing every day being blasted by like hustle culture guys and like, let me fix your workflow. I got 3 prompts that are going to change it. And those people are great because they really are selling the dream. And I was like, man, I'm too old for this. Like I can't learn anymore. But what I learned from the old days of like, learn how to learn. Like, how do you get a pixel to get from one side of the screen to the other? If you can do that, make it go up and down, do something else, you're probably going to be able to figure out the rest. And the beauty of where we're at now with entrepreneurs is, no matter what, you know, these kids are booing at graduations when people talk about AI. This is a tool of the moment. You really have to understand it, because it's like booing the internet or booing CB radios. Like, this is the tool. I've streamlined my workday where a business where I'm at right now would likely already be at 35 to 50 people, where we've been at for raising money and the amount of tasks. We have it down to 5 people and a few fractional hires. And I still have time to do cool stuff like this and communicate. And communication is going to be a big piece of any entrepreneur or any creator, any founder coming up, whether they like it or not. And you got to, I love what you guys are doing though, because my theory and my thought is that everybody is their own channel now.
I think you're right, Jared. I think you're right, brother.
I hope.
It's incredible, man. That's incredible.
But I mean, aside from the Jelly Roll, I've gotten to work with Nas, gotten to work with Bob Dylan, gotten to work with, and all of these things were tied to like jobs. So like Nas was an ad job, 20th anniversary of Illmatic, cover to cover. SAB Miller paid for it. I got to play bass with him on stage.
So sick.
Got to work with all the oldies, like Bret Michaels and Leonard Skinner did a cover of my Pawn Stars theme song. Like, in my life, again, this sounds too insane to be true. Like when I go to dinners with people, and I do a lot of dinners to raise money, narrative and folklore and lore is a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
And you got to be a little bit aware of being too much, but also not being too little, at the same time. And like, I think that there's an art to not only building businesses but raising money as well. And I would
Oh
have to
boy, I
guess
know
that
that's right.
the way that we've even raised money, the byproduct of everything that I've done in the last year was also an AI byproduct. I built my own personal, what I would call like a matchmaking, almost like a dating device for me, and meeting these people in different places and really focusing on raising money outside of LA and New York to my
Wow.
destination is Silicon Country in Nashville. I'm trying to build
Oh,
this destination out there where I call it, the hillbillionaire circuit. There's America's,
the
if you
billionaire.
fish where the pond is empty and you try to do the Y Combinator, and trust me, I tried to in the A16 thing. I'm not your typical technical founder, so
Yeah,
I don't
Sure.
fit into a bucket. And I also didn't, JinglePunks was nice and it was a nice story, but we weren't big enough where it was like an FU unicorn $1 billion exit.
Sure.
So it was also, kind of like the movie The Color of Money. If you ever seen it with Paul Newman and Tom Cruise, I just staked
yeah.
myself and got back on the road. And I was like walking into bars, going literally. I met my lead investor at Barstool in Nashville, and he's like, "If I can't make an investment in 7 breaths without reading your deck, then I'm not doing it." And I'm like,
All
"Let's
right.
go bolo tie.
Let's
Let's
go,
go."
Bolo Tie.
So like, but like, there's very real people in the cap deal, but I didn't even know who most of these people were till like things happened so drastically quick, that I feel like the masterclass that I'll be able to teach after this is all over is really, I think, on fundraising and startups, like, and building, because like
Yeah.
that's where my passion and my excitement has been the last little while.
Well, give us insight
Jeez.
on Rebel and
Mhm.
what you guys are building. And it feels like to me, Jared, just from what I've read and what I've seen, it feels like to me you're taking an AI kind of social first
Yeah.
approach, or a like enabling the entrepreneur, the founder, these small, lean teams to go content forward, long form, all of the things, and bring podcasting into 2026 is what
Yeah.
it feels like, with all of your music background and advertising,
Yeah.
etc. Is that the
So
case,
that's
Jared?
correct. So in China, ahead of us, their idea of social audio occurred during COVID. So a platform called Himalaya got podcasting a little bit more correct than I think North American markets did. In
Interesting.
America, it's been a lot, or in the West, it's been a lot like the music business, gatekeepers. And just follow me here for a second. In the music business, typically you have to qualify to get a record deal. So if you're Drake, Post Malone, blah blah blah, Taylor Swift, you are told by Universal, Warner, or Sony that you're good enough. They give you money, and then they put you in content the same way as a TV person or a filmmaker.
Yeah.
In China, they were doing it as social audio. So people would broadcast the most mundane aspects of their lives. And you had, instead of thousands of pieces of content, you had millions. So 250 million active users. It sold to Tencent Media for 2.5 billion. We've seen exits in
Wow.
podcast 1.0 where people have had cute exits. I call 300 million cute or 400 million cute. That's like the Wonderies, the Gimlets, but
Yeah.
they were early. And what happened was, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That consolidation happened by major media companies going, we know we want this capability, but we don't really know what it is yet. And my first thesis was incorrect. I thought it would just be an inexpensive development tool for film and TV, the way that like Wondery has like true crime that becomes shows.
Yep.
I think the true value here is the one-to-many content piece, like what you guys are doing here. It's this piece of content will then be a tweet, maybe
Oh
a
yeah,
Substack,
for
maybe a
sure.
podcast. So like, and what I realized was I liked at the time making the content because it was being gatekept by SiriusXM, Audible, and Amazon. That experiment of them having to give advances, like the way the record business wasn't sustainable, because we have the Joe Rogans, we have our Conans, we have our
Yeah.
Caller Daddies. Those are one percenters, but
Right.
most of the other people just sort of sit in this mushy middle to the bottom. And it reminded me of the music business. Why did JinglePunks get free inventory from all these composers who wanted to be in Chappelle's show, or Real Housewives, or Pawn Stars, or The Voice? Because we created a gateway between us and the endpoint, and we had
I
enough
see.
knowledge where we said, look, hopefully you can trust us with your content. If we make $1, you make 50 cents. That's a good deal, but we don't own your content. So on the podcast side, I'm seeing 900,000 new creators coming into the space every month. Tools are really friction filled, fraction, like it's really difficult. And today I'm in Miami. We're actually opening a little bit of a podcast outpost, like a more.
Let's go.
But I've been using the beta test trying to upload. I'm going to be like a guinea pig in this thing. I'm going to take one of my old podcasts. I'm going to see how quickly I can land speed. Just take the old episodes, get them translated into 5 different languages, get my clipping done. I don't want to, in the past, I would give it to other people and I would lose touch of the piece of content from the time I made it to the time I saw it somewhere on the internet, because I'd give it to a production person, an intern, a PA, and I'd be like, that's not the clip I wanted. That's not the picture of me I wanted. That's not anything that I wanted. And being able to take it and go from podcast to my Substack to Instagram to LinkedIn without having to like sit there all day being like, oh, check out this new piece. We're just trying to do a launch pad. And the funny thing is, the AI of it all brought me back to where I was, day one at heavy.com. Fire everybody, say, hey, you got a camera, you got this, and if you can make the stuff, you're hired. I can now, as a creator, to anybody, because people are like, well, what's the barrier to entry? Well, if you have a laptop or a phone, you're pretty much set. And that's what the music business was for the last few years. New mediums created new lanes of creators. So podcast 1.0, if it was defined by the earliest Tom Green, who was doing what you guys are doing now.
That's right.
But then Rogan, and then everything. What happened is that new mediums will create new genres. And think about music. The SoundCloud app created SoundCloud rappers.
Right.
So like,
it's true.
What is the next wave of journalists going to be? What are the next waves of sports going to be? What's the next? This could be a kid in the middle of literally nowhere in America, globally, who could then create an audience that has billions of impressions. And for me, I'm more excited about the tools that we're creating. And I think the opportunity of just taking AI and quickly making an MVP. Like, there was so many other wacky things that happened as I was building it. I got invited to a Lovable hackathon where I was the oldest person in the room by like 10 years. And I won.
You won?
A Lovable
No, you did, Jared?
I swear to God.
What did you build?
Will.i.am had this thing at his place called FYI in LA, and a friend they were like,
Casual?
we want you as like vibe, but I was like, it was going to be creators with like technical people, and I was like, well, which one do you guys want? Like, I am the kind of a creative person. They're like, no, we want you to code. So in the 10 days leading up to it, I was just messing around Lovable. I built something called Global Dial, where it wasn't wholly original, but it worked in the space. You could take any song, drop it on a map of the world, and it would regionalize it. So my country song could then sound Celtic or African.
That's crazy.
And what I learned is you could borrow different models from other people. So Frontier AI is already built. So all these things like Claude, ChatGPT, Suno, I'm not trying to build those. I'm trying to build a hot rod engine where Rebel Audio holds all of it in the center, and the way that we've sequenced all the tools is really the magic trick. And that's really what we've been patenting and building. So people talk about AI this, AI that, but I realize that you don't want to be competing at all with the Sam Altmans or the, Dario, whatever, you want to be competing with SaaS businesses that have built workflows that are now being completely deconstructed by 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids who may not have the idea, but they have the technical know-how to put these things together. So after I went from MVP building and level, I brought in my real tech layer, and my new model of a technology business has a whole layer of hires in it that is essentially like a consult layer that I've built. They work for us, but I don't have to deal with like the 9 or 10 people under them. And it's been interesting. That's why I was saying like a 5-person, 8-person company as opposed to 30 to 50 at this point.
That is fascinating.
Jared, I feel like you have lived a life of multiple lives at this point. I mean, you're going through your stories, and one of those stories would be its own life in and of itself. And you are basically like, yeah, this is what I did this last year. It's like, and then you casually throw down, you just sneak in there, Will.i.am. You're just like, hey, what's up, Will.i.am? One of the coolest guys ever. I mean,
he's really smart, by the way. That guy is.
Yeah.
Wow. Really cool.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I would love to hear kind of your thoughts on how you're thinking about basically Suno AI. We played around with it on the show a little bit. We made some jingles for ourselves. We're not as good as you. They're probably horrible and compared to what you would build. But could you talk to me a little bit about how you're thinking about that as far as creative for businesses and how businesses can leverage that?
Okay, so I actually am a fan of Suno.
Wow.
And again, I always talk about like movie characters a lot in films. I do feel like this. I've played music my whole life, but I, like Paul Newman, who like doesn't want to touch the pool cue for most of the film. I feel
Yeah.
diminishing returns every time. I love my guitars and my instruments so much,
Yeah.
but because it was a job for so long, I do feel that the one thing that Suno was going to get right was I've worked in Nashville. I've been across every genre. Certain genres are copyable, certain aren't. What Suno did right out of the gate, and again, I don't know what they trained on, so I don't have this knowledge, but I thought country, which I adore and love, was going to be the easiest to copy because it's the only genre of writing room I ever went into where they had a checklist of how you write the songs. So if I was writing with big name people as we were finishing, it's like, did we mention the truck? Did we mention the beer? Did we mention the girl? Like,
Seriously?
that's training data right there in terms of like, and that was bro country, which again I love, and I probably know better than to like truly love it because I love old country, new country,
Sure.
red dirt country. But I also thought that like, you know, hip hop is a little harder to copy. The form
Yeah.
of it is there, you know, but it's a bit more abstract. You know, rock and roll kind of stems from country. Jazz is really tough. You can do crappy jazz and Suno, but I will say,
Yeah.
if you work in the country genre in Suno, oh my God, like you're making things that sound like professional grade songs. Obviously, the smart way to do it would be to not necessarily publish what comes out of it, but use it as a strum your guitar, sing some melodies if you can, see what comes out, and then collaborate with it like another person. But some people, you could just
Interesting.
type in, I want a jingle for the Ecom Cowboys. I want to say, you can't say specific names. You can't be like Morgan
Okay.
Wallen
Oh,
or Waylon.
Yeah.
You could just go, you could actually drop a Morgan Wallen song into Claude and go, can you describe to me how I would describe
Right.
the song as a prompt? And it'll say mid-tempo, bro country, 120, boots in the ground, stomps and
wow.
claps, stadium. That's where I started. That's really where my AI epiphany came. It started at first with music, then it moved to
Yeah.
video, then it moved to Lovable. So I mean, like those guys who are on Instagram, they're like, in 10 days, I'll show you a course to get. And it is weird if you look at it all at once. It seems like a brand new language to people when you
Yeah.
see all these like new squares of technology you're supposed to be learning. But because it was just baby steps with each one, I think that I think it's a hot take, but I'm okay and I like what Suno's doing. And I would have said again, free advice to my old partners who bought the business, JinglePunks. We had hundreds of thousands of pieces of content that are no longer worth that much, but could have been
Oof.
trainable data for them. I would have raised my hand
Oh.
day one and said,
Oh.
look, we're fighting with Suno's fighting with the majors, but we have 500,000 clone songs. JinglePunks was a cloning business. Like they could have taken that and it had all the metadata baked into it, but
Yeah.
it's not my business, not my baby
Wow.
anymore.
This
Wow.
this business that you're building, I find fascinating, Jared, and of course I find you fascinating most of all.
Totally.
And I feel I really feel that companies and their ethos and their culture. I mean, I really feel it's an extension of the founder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, not only do you have this like rich background, but brother, you are in the tools themselves building,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I find fascinating. I mean, you've got I think Mark Burnett is on as an advisor. I mean, you've got Big Mike from Impulsive, who's now a part of this, and it seems like you're doing something truly unique that I think is going to it's going to allow founders, it's going to allow creators with businesses to level up and in an easy way
Yeah.
create more content, push it out into
Yeah.
the world. I mean, get it like transcribed, get it put out in different languages. I mean, this is totally unique, Jared.
I look at it where we're at in podcasts almost in the same way, again, after reading the John Malone book of how groundbreaking it was when they bought AOL because people knew the internet existed, that people were confused as to how to get on the internet. This is an on-ramp, and I'd like it to be
Yeah.
folksy and a mom and pop. I'd like people who have never thought of putting up a podcast before for their first publish to be through ours, because truly it is, even as a technical person, like these other competitors who exist, you can on ramp with, just Google it, any of these other companies, and they're great. But you have to put so much manual information into it. You then have to generate your own artwork. You then have to go to another platform for language and scripting. And I'm sure at some point everybody will have some sort of workflow epiphany that occurs here. But I think every business, from law to medicine to TurboTax, they're all going to get an AI facelift in the next few years. Like even just ordering lunch on DoorDash and Uber, they fully haven't embraced the fact that they're all disparate technologies. The fact that like Uber knows where I am and doesn't figure out what time I like to eat lunch, and the same 3 restaurants I've been to over and over again. I shouldn't have to continuously like input that information. And I think eventually a lot of the flow of our lives is going to be autonomous.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you this. Of course, we're live every day, you know, and we're exactly in this business, Jared. I mean,
where are you guys, by the way? Where are you guys situated?
I'm in Austin. Colin is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I think it's time that we meet in the middle. Come to see you in Tennessee
Anytime.
when you're not in Florida.
You guys are invited. June 7th is our official launch during CMA Fest. It'll be our Silicon Country event. We're going to have a bunch of our partners there. If you guys make it out there on the Sunday, you guys are more than welcome. It would be awesome.
Hey, I am number 635 on the wait list right now.
Let's get you in right now. You're in.
We love it, Jared. And man, we've got to bring you back. We got to bring you back post launch. We want to see you in Silicon Country, and we got to talk about we got to get more lore on music.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'll
advertising.
think of some stories I haven't told you guys. I got plenty.
Okay, we'll do that, brother. We appreciate you joining us. We look forward to having you back, man.
Awesome. Amen. Thanks, guys.